So joining us for this session, we have Lekh Parekh from Dhirubhai Ambani International School. Lekh just graduated from the school and he is now going to Tulane to study a BS MD program. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today, Lekh.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. Hi, good evening. My name is Lekh Parekh, and I'm a freshman at Tulane University. And I am in the TAP-TP Accelerated BSMD program. And my college major for that program will be Cellular and Molecular Biology.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lekh, for introducing yourself and for telling us about your planned major. BSMD, yeah, that's a unique program. So what is actually a BSMD program?
So, like the name suggests, it's a combined BS and MD program, which is a combined undergraduate and graduate program. Meaning that if you are offered a place in this particular program, it means that one has been offered a place into these schools, undergraduate and graduate schools. So the BS is the undergraduate degree that you'll receive, and the MD is the graduate degree that you'll receive from the med school. So, what makes this program unique and attractive to aspiring med students is the fact that even before you begin your undergraduate studies, you're being offered a place into a school's med school, which, especially for international students, the acceptance rate is anyway pretty low. So that's why that's one of the most highly competitive programs in the entire United States.
Okay, so Lekh, you might have made a list of colleges that you thought you'd apply to,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Uh, would you like to mention some of those names, which all colleges were on your
Sure.
list? Yeah.
So I'll get to my list in a second, but if you just Google up the list of BSMD programs in the world, in the United States, there is a college-wide list that has a comprehensive list, but uh, not all of the programs accept international students. So if at all you are an international student and want to know if that program accepts international students, I would like the best option would be to email the program head at the BSMD program head, and that way you can get the straightforward answer as to whether or not you should consider that college. And even if they do accept international kids, you're on the BSMD program head's radar. So it's a win-win situation anyway. And as Neeraj always says, it's good demonstrated interest.
Okay.
And so some of the colleges I had on my list were Brown University, Case Western, Tulane, Rochester, and BU.
Okay. So Rochester, Tulane, Case Western, Brown, and
And uh, BU.
BU. Fantastic.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's great, Lekh. So you just mentioned that these programs are very selective. And would you like to help us gain an understanding of how selective uh, they really are? If you have some numbers with you.
Well, I have the numbers, but they're not very motivating. So, in Tulane, in my program, out of the applicant pool of around like 2,000 kids, there were 8 seats available.
Wow.
And in Case Western, the one I got rejected from, there were 1,700 kids who applied and 11 got the program. And
Wow.
Brown is maybe like a 1.5 acceptance rate. So and it's definitely it's very
Wow.
difficult.
So that means, Lekh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a highly selective program. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
So Lekh, now my next question to you is the structure of a BSMD program.
Right.
It's a 8-year program, is it?
So a typical BSMD program is 8 years. Yes, it's the 4 years of a normal undergrad followed by 4 years of med school. But what's different is the option of the MCAT. So the MCAT is the standardized entrance test for med school in the United States. And if enrolled in a BSMD program, most universities don't require you to give the MCAT at all. So which is extremely attractive to med students because you spend almost the entire of your third year and half of your fourth year just studying for that exam and finalizing your applications to different med schools. So if you have the MCAT out of the way, it gives you space for just a better college life towards the end. And in my case, it's an accelerated med program. So I will finish my undergrad in 3 years, and then I'll join Tulane Med School in my fourth year. So instead of 8 years, I'll be completing my MD degree in 7 years. Yeah, so
Okay.
I think even BU is accelerated, but the others are 8 years, the ones I applied to at least.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And so what were some of the factors that you considered while selecting the program and selecting the universities that you did?
So I think the process is the same for just whichever colleges you select, whatever the process that Neeraj sir has told us over the years of how to choose your colleges. So the basic factors are the same, but the specific med factors I looked at, like now I had to move my focus from not just their undergraduate schools, but also to their med schools and see how good they were, not the research facilities, the staff and the faculty there. So yeah, you have to like kind of shift your focus back to the med school as well, and then because it's a long-term investment and a long-term program. So, and if you're going to be staying at one university for 8 years, you should know that you're going to be completely happy there, because otherwise there's no point of going there at all. And yeah, I think that was about it.
Okay, so first is research the program,
Right.
know more about university, right?
Hmm.
And then somewhere earlier you also said that to be accepted, you need to demonstrate the interest, right?
Right, for sure, because it's such a competitive program. There's a long list of names, and usually the BSMD committee is entirely separate from your admission committee. So it goes because here it's a med school program as well. So your application, your undergraduate application, goes to the med school as well. So to be attractive to a med school admission officer, your application should also be tailored a certain way. So that's what was going to be my biggest advice to anyone who planning to apply to BSMD programs. The application is usually separate. I'll get to that in a second. But try in especially the BSMD program essays or the interviews, try to be more objective than creative and quirky, because they're looking for future doctors. Like it's always good to be unique
Yeah,
and creative, but they're looking for future doctors, and future doctors have to be objective, and yeah, they should just be straightforward
wonderful.
and not.
Super, Blake. So that gives us a good idea of why you selected it. Now, do tell us a little bit about the application process. How did the whole application process look
Right.
like for you?
So, because it's a relatively unheard of program and a highly selective program, you do have to write separate essays for it. So the option will either be in the Common App, like BU was in the Common App, but the others like Brown, Case Western, Rochester, Tulane had essays outside of Common App. So you had to write the emails and submit it via, write the essays and submit it via email or through their portal directly. So it's different for every university, and you should be on top of that. Neeraj's team helps you quite a bit with that. Um, but so basically, the first round, as always, is the essays, and after that, in my case, there was an interview. And in the interview, it's not just an admission officer, it's not just a student alum, but I actually had doctors from the School of Medicine in the interview with me. So you're actually presenting in front of the Dean of Admissions of Tulane Med School and doctors who are working and teaching there. So, like I said, you have to be like objective and know your medical stuff, because this is a graduate program, not an undergraduate program. You're supposed to have some prior knowledge of what you want to do in the future.
Okay, so there is Common App. There are the regular
Mhm.
letter of recommendations, right?
Right.
Then there is the regular essays that you have to submit. Then there
Mhm.
is an additional BSMD application, is it? Within Common.
Uh, Not within Common App. So sometimes, like BU, there's an option in one of the special fields that would you like to apply for this
Yeah.
program. So if you selected like a couple, I think three essays pop down, which you have to write. So yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely more essays, it's definitely more work. But yeah, otherwise you get access to these essays from the portal, which you're from the student applicant portal, or you just find it on their website and they ask you to email it to a particular person.
Okay, perfect. So for you, it was there in Common App. Like you had to select for Tulane, it was an option within Common App that you had to say that.
No, so for Tulane, no, I had to, I went online, I looked it up on their website, and for Tulane, I had to write it on a separate Word doc, and then I had to email it to the Dean of Admissions of med school. So then he responded to me. Like, there was no Common App involved in that.
Okay, okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so Lake, with that, we are coming towards the end of this conversation. I would like to ask you what is an advice, once again, that you would like to share with these students who might be looking at BS MD programs in the US?
Right. Like, yeah, my main advice would be to be objective, especially in the BSMD programs, and I would say be knowledgeable about your med school stuff. Like, don't know the med school as well as the undergraduate school, not just the undergraduate school, because you're applying to the med school right now as well. So do thorough research on the med school, and yeah, just be knowledgeable about certain things coming up in medicine right now, research and innovation, because that was one of the things I was asked in my interview as well, about just like, what's the most recent medical news you heard. So it's good to stay in touch with your potential future field. And yeah, just if your primary focus is going to be the BSMD program at a university, then maybe you can tailor your application slightly more towards the medical side instead of just a general side. So you can always, again, now if you're in the 9 to 10, you have the time now to get in some job shadowing or internship opportunities at hospitals. So yeah, try to tailor your resume and your Common App more towards a medical field.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lake, for sharing all that information with us. I do have a couple more questions that the
Sure,
students
sure.
would like to know. Question number one is, you mentioned that there was an interview, right? So can
Right.
you tell us a little more about what were the kind of questions that you were asked
Sure.
during the interview? And again, did you interview with Case Western or another one of your colleges as well? Or did you?
Okay. Okay, no, so I interviewed only with Tulane because you have to get through 2, 3 rounds before each of them. So I didn't get through to the interview round for Case. But for Tulane, like the main question they'd ask you in every single BSMD interview is, why do you want to be a doctor? So I racked my brain for so long. Even Neeraj sir and I, we spent a good like an hour and a half just figuring and nailing down that question. So that is going to be a staple in all interviews. And like I said, like these interviews are also with doctors who aren't part of the admission committee. They're just doctors at Tulane Medical School. So one of the doctors um, had asked, like in one of my essays, I wrote about stand-up comedy, and my like the doctor who was also in the interview, he said I do a little bit of stand-up myself. So in like a half an hour interview, he told me to do 7.5 minutes of stand-up. So
Wow.
they're entirely random. And the thing is, like, it's not just admission, it's not just the people who are in the admission committee. So you're not going to get the classic admission question like, why do you want to go to this school? What classes are you excited to attend? So it can be entirely random. And I said, like, they asked me about what's the most recent medical news you heard. So be knowledgeable about it and just be open, be objective, and yeah, don't try to have a script next to you because they can figure out when you're reading. So yeah, that's
Okay.
about it.
Okay, that's great. Another question, Lake, for you is, there might be different concentrations within the BSMD program, right?
Right.
So are you required to select that concentration right away, or after a couple of years, or only when you join the medical school?
No, so that is so if you're talking about undergraduate major, I can only take cellular and molecular biology. And I think that's the case in most BSMD programs as well. Because uh, if they want you to do medicine in the future and they want you to complete undergrad in 4 years and quicker and like then be able to focus entirely on med school, they want you to like primarily focus on one thing. Like you can still explore different classes, but your major should just be like it's usually just biology. And yeah, especially mine's accelerated, so they rely on high school credit and just studied a molecular biology major and no double majors to be able to make sure that I finish in 3 years.
Okay. And my final question to you is, Lekh, would you like to share what your Common App essay was all about?
Oh, my Common App essay. My Common App essay was about like primarily about neo-colonialism, and wrote it as a story of an Indian. I basically reversed the fact that the British invaded India, and I started my essay talking about how what would have happened if India would have invaded Britain, and then I ended with like how India is still colonialized by the British. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, Lekh. Did you also do some internships or some sort of job shadowing of doctors or
Yeah.
something like that?
hmm I had a lot of job shadowing experience because both my parents are doctors, so I was able to I had better access to those opportunities. So yeah, I had job shadowing and internship experiences with doctors. So and I think that's what pushed me in the direction of medicine as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Lekh, anything else about your profile that you would like to share with the students that you think would help make them a strong application for a program like the one you are doing?
Um, my answer would be just a generic. Try doing research, but like step it up a notch and maybe try to do it with a doctor if you can, so I was able to, I had the opportunity to do psychological research with a psychiatrist, and I think that definitely helped me not only in my application process but also she basically helped refine my research skills and just made me much more of an intuitive thinker, especially when it comes to medical research. So research is definitely a very attractive thing to admission officers and to the med school now as well, because they want especially Tulane Medical School, and honestly all these top medical schools that you can consider applying to, they all are often invested a lot in research, and if the student shows promising signs of research right from the undergraduate level, it can always be helpful.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Lekh, for sharing all that information with
Mhm.
us, for sharing so much about your profile, about the research that you did, and for guiding these students who are watching this video. It was a pleasure having you here on this call today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Good day.